Hey y'all, and welcome back to Tab Space. So, I want to know, top of the show, top of the hour. No, I'm just playing. But no, I really want to know, you could name 1 to 3 things that in your mind are the telltale signs that somebody's not meant for you, meant to be in your life. And it doesn't just have to be a partner, like a relationship. It could be a friendship, it could be a family situation, it could be whatever. How do you know like somebody's not for you? I think my top three would be not being able to communicate, not being able to be accountable, and lying. There are 10 signs that psychologists have done some studies in order to narrow down a list of 10 things that are good indicators that a person's probably not for you. And of course, just like every article we talk about on here, this one caught my attention. So I figured I would share what I learned because I think that this is important. I think that in my life, I've struggled in the past to figure out these things for myself. So I think that having a a little list of things that I could like go back to and be like, okay, maybe that was like a telltale sign that that probably wasn't going to work out. Maybe if this happens again, I might want to be careful. So let's get into it. So the article that I found is by a magazine or website. I don't know which one it is. I was trying to figure it out. I think it's a magazine. But anyway, it aims to define 10 signs someone isn't meant to be in your life, and we're going to dive on in. So the first sign a person isn't meant for you is if they hide things from you. So that's that uh lying thing I was talking about, being truthful. A study a 2023 study by the International Association for Relationship Research established that people tend to keep secrets about experiences or parts of themselves that they deem shameful, embarrassing, or harmful to their relationship or their social status. The results of the study suggested that the initial strength of a relationship indicates whether or not someone will disclose their secrets. Self disclosure of secrets increases trust and emotional intimacy. So, you want someone to be truthful with you, but in order for someone to be truthful with you, you have to foster an environment for truth telling. So the stronger the relationship, the more truthful you should be. To gain a strong relationship, you have to be truthful. When someone carries secrets associated with shame or embarrassment, they're more likely to withdraw from people they're close to, creating a sense of distance and emotional isolation. Instead of asking for support, hiding things from a partner can make somebody feel like their relationship is inauthentic, which will likely keep the relationship at a shallow level of commitment. So, I think the guilt that's associated with not being truthful with somebody weighs on a relationship as a whole. And beyond that, the relationship's going to suffer due to that lack of truth. So, I mean, that's what I really get out of that. People with anxious or avoidant attachment styles are more likely to hide preoccupying secrets than people with a more secure attachment style. So, the, an anxious or avoidant attachment style to me seems like something that you would gain either like from your childhood or something that you would learn in your adulthood by being in certain situations. Maybe you're not confrontational, and that becomes so you become so unconfrontational that you're avoidant about things that need to be discussed. So, y'all know I always like to preach about healing. That's one big part about healing. If you have an avoidant attachment style, that's okay. But if you want a strong relationship you'll have to work through that in order to have an optimum relationship for you and the person, that whatever type of relationship it is that you're having it that relationship with. That was kind of a lot, but yeah. Um, People with anxious or avoidant attachment styles are more likely to. Oh yeah, I gave you guys that already. Being able to be vulnerable with your partner is important to the health of your relationship and separates it from other relationships in your life. If that is compromised by the fact that one party isn't truthful, it puts strain on the relationship. That was my own note that I made for myself, because generally that's how I feel. I think that being able to have somebody that you can confide in everything with is an unmatched type of feeling, and not being able to have that with your partner, or truths not being told to get you and your partner to that point, it's a disservice to whatever type of relationship you got. And if somebody in your life consistently hides aspects of their true self, it's a sign they're not for you. That was from the article. So yeah. um I've talked about this before in another video as well, but when someone tells like little white lies and like tries to kind of like big themselves up so that way they look better, you know, that's kind of something that's like seen as like it's kind of pushed under the rug. And over time, honestly, if somebody keeps getting if somebody keeps getting away with that, they start to kind of build up that wall with you. Um and eventually you don't know who they are. And if you can't figure out somebody's true self because of how much they are not truthful with you, it's a telltale sign that it's probably not going to work out very well. And who wants to not be their true selves with their partner or their friends or people that they consider closest to them? You know what I mean? I don't I want to be able to be my most authentic self. If I can't, I don't want any parts of it. Sign number 2 is emotional unavailability. That's one of my favorite ones. I have experienced a lot of emotionally unavailable people in my life. And when you're a fixer, you want to fix people. So you think that you can heal people and you can help them get through that. And I'm just going to be honest with you. You cannot, unless you're a therapist and you're getting paid to do it. Um, you can't you can't wean anybody out of emotional unavailability, because there's so many reasons why a person could be emotionally unavailable to you. So many different reasons, it's not even funny. And if they're like deep rooted in them, you're not going to be able to break down that wall. You're not going to be able to get past that as easily as you might think. So if someone is emotionally unavailable and unwilling to work through that emotional unavailability with you, it's not it's not looking good. Because in my experience, you hurt yourself trying to love somebody so much that's giving you nothing, to the point where you deplete yourself. You put all of you into that person that's unavailable, and they still give you nothing in return. So there's no reward, and you're just running yourself on E. Like, it's not it's not a good idea for you to do that to yourself. Um So the ability for people to show up for each other in a relationship is part of having a healthy emotional connection. An individual's emotional responsiveness and attunement to another's needs and goals is what emotional availability is. So, what does it mean to be emotionally available? Because excuse me, sorry, I just jumped into that. So, what does it mean to be emotionally available? The ability for people to show up for each other in a relationship, part of having a healthy emotional connection. An individual's emotional responsiveness and attunement to another's needs and personal goals. That is what emotional availability is. We often confuse emotional availability with supportiveness during hardship. They're not the same. Yeah, if someone's emotionally unavailable, they probably are not going to be the best consoler of you in a moment of need. They don't have very good emotional intelligence when it comes to that. But that said, it's more than just that. It's more of also the flip side of it. Being able to open up to you, being able to connect with you, being able to empathize with you. If you don't have emotional availability, you're not going to be able to do that with somebody. So it's not conducive to a healthy relationship. Being emotionally available hinges on accepting a range of emotions from negative feelings to positive ones. It's all about self-awareness. So, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, hand in hand. If you do not have the self-awareness of to understand your own emotions, you cannot explain them to somebody else. And you cannot be available to give yourself up to somebody else to understand that, right? So that's where I'm coming from with there's so it's so deep rooted where emotional availability and unavailability come from. A person's lack of emotional availability is fairly obvious if they shut down when you're upset. I had a partner that would always shut down when I was upset. They could not handle my emotions. My emotions were always too much. That's where emotional availability becomes a problem because now I'm upset and you shut down. I need you in this moment to be strong and help me. You shut down, we're both now in an emotional state. So, how is that conducive to a good or healthy relationship? How are we going to help each other? How are we going to build on one another? We can't. If we're both down, we can't. And in a relationship, yeah, there's 50-50. But there's days where the man gives 80, the woman gives 20. There's days where the woman gives 80 and the man gives 20. Or if you're not in a man woman situation and it's you know what I mean? Whatever it is, there's days where you have to give more than you get, and there's days where you have to get more than you give in a healthy relationship. So that's that on that. Anyway, so a more subtle sign is how they hold space when you're happy or proud of yourself or excited. Do they join in your joy or do they brush it off as though you're not important or it's not important? I've experienced in a few different scenarios people that are not emotionally available enough to clap for another person when they're up. Sometimes there's jealousy involved, but there's also a lot of times this misunderstanding of how beautiful it is for you to be happy. Being happy is not something that's easy to attain in this life, especially the older that you get. Once you become an adult, being happy is not the easiest thing to do, especially when you got politics and the recession and all these other things that could be and may be looming over your head. You got just so many things that happen on a day-to-day basis. So, if your partner or your friends or the people that are around you can't clap for you when you're doing well and be there for you when you're doing not so well, I don't know how it's going to work out, especially if you're the type of person that is there, that does clap for others. You have to clap for others and be clapped for too. You can't always give without receiving. And I'm not on the let's count favors. Oh, well you remember when I no, we're not doing that. I'm just saying, how does somebody process it when you're happy? Are they happy for you or do they just not know what to do? If the answer is they don't know what to do, it might be a telltale sign that they're not emotionally available to you. Someone may be emotionally unavailable for different reasons. Some could include past trauma or fear of intimacy, the way you were raised, and your resulting attachment orientation. A lot of people are emotionally unavailable because of their past traumas. A lot of our parents were taught that you don't deal with your emotions, you just keep it pushing. What are you talking about feelings? I have to go to work. What are you talking about? Do your homework, do your work. Like there was no time for feelings. And that's why there's a lot of people that are really messed up now. Cuz when you don't take the time for your feelings, which do matter, you a lot of bad things can result from that. You got to process your stuff. Fear of intimacy, that also comes from possible traumas, maybe relationship traumas, maybe you saw something happen and you don't want to ever that thing traumatize you, don't want that to happen to you. There's a whole lot that comes along with that one. No matter the reason for the emotional unavailability, it's damn near impossible to have a relationship with someone emotionally unavailable, or if they're unwilling to become more emotionally available. And I mean genuinely willing to become more emotionally available, because a person can become whatever they want. A person can grow and change to be whatever they want. But that person has to want to do that. You can't force anybody to want to be more emotionally available. You can't fix anybody. But if a person comes to you and they say, you know what, I'll be honest with you, I care about you, and I understand that I'm emotionally unavailable from my past traumas or whatever reason there is for me to be emotionally unavailable. And for not only you, but for me, I'm going to work on being more emotionally available. I mean, that's the only way it's going to work, is if they're willing to work on it. And I'm not saying they did something wrong and now that's their way of making up for it, because that's heading towards love bombing territory. Don't accept it as an apology for something terrible, but understand if someone comes to you and they tell you that this is a challenge that they have and they want to fix it, not only for you, but for them, then I think that's the only way that dealing with someone emotionally unavailable will work. Because I'm telling you, it's exhausting to try to, it's exhausting to try to work through that if they don't want to fix it. And if the person doesn't want to fix it, my advice is to let them go. But you take any of this information and do with it what you will. The article goes on to say, if someone in your life builds barriers and puts up walls around how they feel, it might be time to move on. It's important to remember that a person's level of emotional availability isn't a reflection of your worth, but rather their own development. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It's nothing bad. It's no tea, no shade. It's just, look, they may not be emotionally developed enough to be able to be in your life. And that's okay. That's fine. Not everybody is meant for everybody. So let's move on to sign number 3. If you don't have shared interests, I have grown out of a lot of people in my lifetime, because I'm the type of person that's got to keep evolving. I got to keep having a different goal to get to. So I can't be stuck doing the same thing I was doing last year. I have to be doing something different. I have to be doing something better, moving smarter, thinking thinking more clear. Like, I have to. Otherwise, I feel like I'm not doing shit. If I don't find somebody that has that same drive, we're not going to work, because they're going to use me for mine and my shine, but they're not going to help me get to the top. If I like reading books and they don't like reading books, that's okay. But if I like expanding my mind and they would rather sit on the couch and eat potato chips all day, that's not for me. So you gotta have some shared interests, and not only shared interests, but shared activities that you do together. Things like if you like going to a winery, they gotta like whatever you consider your ideal date. Y'all gotta have some sort of like compromise there. It's got to be like a thing that y'all both enjoy to do together. Because if it's something you hate or it's something they hate, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be a waste of time. And if you can't bond doing something that you love, I don't really know what you're going to spend your time doing exactly. It sounds like it's not a very good outcome to me. So I know you've heard the opposites attract, but these kinds of relationships generally start out fast, fizzle out just as fast as they start. And while being an introvert and your partner being an extrovert can complement each other, not having common interests can be detrimental to your relationship. You gotta have at least something in common. Like y'all can't not like anything the same. There's no way. It's just not. It's not gonna work. Being able to spend time doing something that you mutually enjoy is very important to the health of your relationship. A study dove deeper into why certain activities bring couples closer. The study credited a higher relationship quality to enlighten in satisfying, relaxing activities that promote emotional intimacy. It helps you get, you know what I mean, spice it up when you do something that y'all both enjoy to do, that y'all both enjoy doing and have a good time doing it. You bond different. That forms key memories. Like it's very important. Activities that were deemed new and exciting, like traveling together, date nights, or joint hobbies, fostered a deep sense of closeness that, oh, okay, got it. It fostered a deeper sense of closeness than habitual activities like watching TV, talking, shopping, or working around the house. When you do mundane things every day strings together. Every day starts to feel like the same day. Like, and when you incorporate your partner into the mundane parts of life, you get bored very fast. There won't be a store in the mall that y'all haven't been to together. There won't be a movie that you haven't seen together. Like, you gotta spice it up. You gotta find fun, new, exciting things to do together. And y'all gotta have at least some sort of like the same type of vibe. You can't love hiking and he only likes to go to like ballroom dancing classes. If y'all are both willing to do both, ball out. But if it's like y'all are complete opposites, it's just not gonna work. The researchers concluded that shared activities maintain relationships best when both partners are responsive and dedicated, meaning that each person has to want to share the activity in order to feel closer. And I mean, I'm the type I could get down with anything. We could vibe out to anything. Just don't bore me to death, and we're good. Like you got to find somebody that's got a little bit of that in them, or just at least has some sort of same interests as you. If you find that your interests differ wildly from those of your partner or even your friends, it signifies that you're not meant for each other in the long run. Yeah. Let's go on to sign number 4. Now, this one, I think from this point forward, they start to get a little bit more serious. So I'm like, no, let me take notes real quick, for real, cause it's kind of crazy. So sign number 4: if they criticize you, if anybody in your life criticizes you, like genuinely makes you feel as though they just they're not fucking with something, like it's okay. Let's say you're out and you get rude with somebody in public and your friend's like, hey bro, hey, like chill out. Don't do that. Come on. That's fine. That's understandable. But I'm talking about like you are a very fashionable person. You love to wear bright colors and this is just who you've always been. This is who you are. And you meet somebody or you're friends with somebody and they just hating on you, literally hating on you. And I think as females, we all know at least one hating ass friend or one hating ass bitch. I don't keep hating friends around me, but I've had it in my life where I've been around females where I'm like, oh, you're a hater. You're a jealous hater. Yeah, stay away from people that criticize you. When it comes to you being genuinely who you are, you find people that vibe and jive with that. Period. Nobody else. If they don't fuck with who you are or what you got going on or what your brand is or who you like any of it, it ain't none of cut that. Cut them off. Seriously. So the article says it's one thing for someone to share how your behavior or your actions made them feel. It's another thing to criticize you as a person. This came from Dr. John Gottman, a therapist and relationship expert. Believe that criticism is one of the four behaviors that predicts relationship instabilities and unhappiness. Yeah, I would agree. Criticism leads back to that lack of honesty we discussed in the beginning. If your partner criticizes you and it fosters an environment where you cannot be your most authentic self when your partner criticizes you. Like if you feel ashamed, embarrassed, guilty of anything and your partner makes you feel like you should feel bad about it, no, it's not. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy because nobody should ever water you down. Nobody on this planet should ever water you down, especially not somebody you surround yourself with. So if it's a friend, a family member, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a fiance, a wife, a husband, I don't care. If they criticize you, let them go because they're not respecting you and they got to go. Soon enough, you won't be able to be your most authentic self and that'll make the relationship falter as well because like we talked about, if you're not being honest or you're not being your true self, you're not going to be happy either. So it goes right back to that. Criticism is rooted in anger and resentment. It can be presented in overt verbal way, like accusing someone of always acting a certain way or never doing certain things. It can also show up in subtle nonverbal ways, like rolling their eyes when you express what you think or redoing the dishwasher when you clean the kitchen. I've seen some very passive aggressive forms of criticism in my life. And there's this thing, I think it's called like, oh, I'm not even going to call it by name because I can't recall it properly. But it's basically a manipulation tactic where a person will, it's called dog whistling, that's it. They'll know that you have like an insecurity about something or they something that they always like get on you about. Like let's say they don't feel like you clean the house well enough. If you go to a nice house, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, look how clean this place is, honey, look how clean they keep this place. Isn't that amazing?" And yeah, it seemed real nice, right? But if I criticize you every single day and tell you that you don't keep my house clean enough, and then I come to you when we go to somebody else's house and you say that to me right in front of these people, and only you and I know what we're talking about, what you're doing, but you're humiliating me in a subtle way that only you and I know of, and it makes somebody feel very small when somebody does something like that. So again, criticism can go down so many different paths. F people that have any judgment, to any negative, bad things to say about you for who you are. F them. F them. Sign number 5, arguing a lot. It's a normal thing to argue with your partner. Very normal. But where it becomes an issue is where you're arguing every day. You're arguing about every little thing. You can't go a day without arguing. You just, like, every little thing is a disagreement. You can't even express yourself because you feel like it's going to be an argument. Yeah. That's when it's about time to start thinking about, like, all right, if we can't go without arguing for a certain amount of time, I think it's time for me to pack my stuff up and go, because it's not good for your body. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for anything to argue with somebody constantly. And it's not a sign that they love you. They might claim, I'm arguing because I love you. Certain disagreements, yeah. There's certain things where, like, if your girl's telling you, like, buckle your seatbelt, and that's what y'all are arguing about, then yeah, I care about you. But if it's like the littlest stuff and y'all are just picking at each other at this point, it's not a good sign. Oh, and it also depends on the severity of the disagreement. If y'all having a little bicker back and forth, okay, whatever. But, like, if y'all are starting to, like, be mean to each other, y'all are picking at each other, saying mean stuff, just being cruel, trying to get each other's goat. Nope. A 2021 research paper analyzed different forms of communication between couples and whether those communication styles positively or negatively affected their relationship outcomes. If couples spend more time fighting than having calm conversations, the damage of the negative interactions outweighs whatever wins are made from the positive interactions. They described communication during conflict as high salience interactions as opposed to low salience interactions, which are more mundane, task oriented communication. I don't know what high salience interaction means per se. I think from context clues, I could say salience is a negative thing, and having low salience would be positive because it more task oriented. Task oriented communication to me sounds like we're trying to get to a resolve. The opposite sounds like we're just trying to pick. We're just trying to, you know what I mean, hurt each other or something. Couples who use constructive communication during conflicts reported higher levels of relationship satisfaction. So, disagree, talk, debate, find a solution, but don't argue all the time for no good reason. If you find yourself getting to a point where you're just like, ugh, I'm tired of looking at this person, get away. Whether that means you gotta go away for a few months or you gotta go away forever. If you're tired of somebody, take a break. Take a break. Take that tea time to figure out if they're supposed to be in your life or not. When couples know how to approach conflict respectfully, it signifies that their relationship is built on solid ground. But when people fight by being cruel, it shows that there's more bad than good in the relationship. Ultimately, a relationship should bring joy and growth, even in challenging times. Spending the majority of your time fighting is an indication that your relationship isn't made to last. Gotta agree. got to agree with you there, my boy. Um, in every relationship I've been in, once we started to argue a lot, I knew it was over. It didn't, it might not end until months later, but the moment we would start arguing like every day, it was over with. The emotion was just, you know what I mean? I don't even like arguing. Like the way I grew up, I argued about if the sky was blue or not. I don't want to argue about a dang thing. You got it. You win. I hate arguing. I hate it. Sign number 6. And another big one to me is you not being able to be yourself around your partner. I mentioned this before, but if you can't be you, I I've been in situations where I didn't even realize that I couldn't be me around my partner. Yeah, I could tell that like I would be on walking on eggshells, but I didn't realize how little I could actually be myself in those situations until I wasn't around that, and then I was in those same social situations without that, and I realized like, "Oh my god, I'm actually turned. I'm lit." Like I was really watering myself down in order to make somebody else happy, to fit into their box of me, their version of me. No. Although you may notice when your light is being blocked, although you may not notice when your light is being blocked by someone, especially somebody you love. If you catch yourself feeling as though there are certain things you can and cannot say around them, or certain things you can and cannot do around them, that's a telltale sign they're not for you. Your partner should bring out the best you. They should bring out the most authentic you. They should literally like foster your inner child, not foster. They should empower you bringing out your inner child every day. They should want you to experience that type of joy. So if they're not doing that for you, they're not allowing that of you, they're not for you, mamas. They're not for you. But this is why it's very important that you love yourself when you go into a relationship. Because if you don't and you lack boundaries, people can if you don't know who you are, people can a lot more easily manipulate you to be who they want you to be. That's why a lot of manipulators choose younger people or people that they perceive as weaker than them, whether it be mentally, physically, in whatever way they feel that they can get a stronghold over them. They try to do that, and a lot of them succeed in it because they know what their target is. Building self-love and confidence is extremely important when you're trying to date, be friends with people, be family members with people. You got to have boundaries, and you have to know your worth, so that way nobody can tell you what they think your worth is, and you accept that as your worth. um See, life and business coach Patricia Magerkirth, I might be saying completely wrong, and I apologize if I did. But she shared that accepting yourself fully is the first step to fostering authentic relationships. Love yourself. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. And if you don't know how, there's a lot of different ways to learn how. There's affirmations, there's meditation, there's mindful breathing. There's so many different, like, we could go on and on about all the different ways that you can learn how to love yourself if you don't have it in you yet. Let's see. Look within and consider what's important to them. Set boundaries around what you value, what you want, and what you need for your well-being. Ask yourself, who do I want to be in this situation or this relationship? How can I be real and let people know what my needs are? Very important. You have to make sure that as much as you market yourself, you make sure that you don't accept less than what you're worth, because your partner becomes a representation of you and you vice versa. So you could say, oh, that's his decisions, da 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 da. When you date an ain't shit person, either way it goes, They make you look dumb. So you have to love you. So you pick somebody that loves you and represents you and them in the best light possible. When the person you show up as in a relationship doesn't match how you feel inside, you're essentially crossing your own boundaries. Don't do yourself a disservice. Having boundaries does not make you high maintenance. You are allowed to have personal preference. And if somebody is not that for you, it's okay to walk away. Everybody wants to say, oh my God, nobody wants to stick around. I've been left behind so many times. Blase, blase, blah. Look, I hear you. I do. Trust me, I hear you. But if you cross my boundary, whatever it is, you don't meet my preference, whatever it is, that's okay. You're going to be that for somebody else. Somebody else won't have the same boundaries, and that's okay. But for me, I'm going to walk away. So now let's go into number 7. Relationship expectations are not aligned. If you want to get married and they don't want to get married, I don't see how this relationship is going to work. I see a lot of people try to make it work. I don't know if they think that they're going to get their way. One of them's going to get their way. Neither one of them are going to get their way. But at the end of the day, you're both cheating yourself if you don't want the same things that they want. I think it's important to have these conversations a lot sooner than they're had nowadays. I'm very much a first, second date, getting to know you, getting to know all about you. I want to know everything. I want to know what happened. What happened? How'd you get here? Why are you with me and not the last person you were with? I'm asking all the tough questions because what we're not going to do is not be on the same page and want two completely different things out of a relationship. And I waste my time and you waste yours, and we know we want two different things. I'm not doing that, and you shouldn't either. But you do what you, hey, to each his own. I'm not judging anybody that's in that position. I'm just saying it usually doesn't work out very well. Somebody resents somebody else. This could be realized at any phase in a relationship and may be made clear earlier on by having an honest conversation about where you want the relationship to go. It's totally possible to have deep feelings for someone, yet not want the same kind of relationship they do. You might want more or less commitment, depending on where you are in life. And your age, you're allowed to not want to be with somebody because of your age. Okay? There's this like sugar daddy movement and all this. I'm all for if you want to date somebody that's 20 years older than you and you're 20 years old, go ahead. I'm not, I won't be doing the same, but I'm not judging you. But it's okay if you're 22, 21, and a person is almost 30, and y'all want two different things. It's okay for you to not be with that person. It's okay for you to not go meet their expectations and go get married and go have a kid and go do this and go do that, because in different stages in your life, at 21, you want something completely different than what you want at 30. Most of the time. Some people, you know what I mean? This is going to go over their head, but to the people that get it, by the time you turn 30, you're going to want something different. To expect somebody that's so much older than you to want the same thing that you want at your age, it worries me because I wonder, why do you want the same thing that I want at this age? Unless I really want to get married and have kids at 21. But most of us, we want to live our life and figure out who we are prior to doing that. But that said, no matter what you want, if y'all don't want the same thing out of a relationship, that's okay. That relationship just might not be for y'all to have with one another. Let them be with somebody that wants what they want, and you be with somebody that wants what you want. There's 7 billion people in this world. People can fall out of sync with one another or never be quite aligned in the first place. Sometimes you want the same thing, and then you realize you don't want the same thing anymore. And you're allowed to do that too. That's okay. It isn't easy to let somebody go, but when your lives diverge, it's time to make your peace and say goodbye. Chuck up the deuces. Sign number 8, you have different values, different moral values. I think that it gets brought up a lot more in the religious space. Do they have to be Christian? If you're Christian, do they have to be your religion? Um, I think it goes down to a lot more than just religion, but I think that religion is what gets brought up because a lot of people that are religious gain most of their moral code from religion. It gives you a whole list of things you should and should not do. So, if I'm a Christian and you're a Satanist, for example, I don't see how we're going to work anything out. We are complete opposites in our beliefs. But I do know spiritual people that'll be with a Christian and a Christian that'll be with a spiritual person as long as they both believe in God. The reason I brought up religion was not to say that that's where the line gets drawn with moral values. My point is religious people live by a different moral code for the most part. So that's where the debate gets brought up. But in general, you having the same types of values is important. Say they do drugs and you're a devout Christian. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see how that's going to align with you. Say you, I don't know. Like there's just so many different ways that we could go with that. If you don't have the same moral values though, I don't know. Like I guess you say you don't believe in lying and they lie all the time. I don't see how that's gonna work. Say you, I don't know. Okay, according to a study, a relationship's ability to survive long term depends on how similar the two individuals are to each other. Our drive to choose like minded friends and partners is a lot stronger than has been assumed by previous studies. We want to be around people that are like minded with us. They don't gotta agree with everything we say. They don't. But and it's important that they don't agree with everything we say. But we want people around us that think somewhat similar to us. I want to start a business. I want to be around business minded people. If I wanted to do drugs, I would want to be around drug addicts. If I wanted to be in a bike club because I love bikes, I would be in a bike club. If I want to be around people that want to be fit, I'm going to go to the gym. It just makes sense. You know what I mean? According to a study, a relationship's ability to survive long term depends on how similar the two individuals are to each other. Our drive to choose like minded friends and partners is a lot stronger than has been assumed by previous studies. I think I just read that. Anyway, while similar values are important to us, it's important to keep people with differing values around so that way we can expand our worldview. Very, very important. If you disagree about everything, I don't know how that's going to work, but if y'all can have a good debate about two differing opinions, that's important. You got to have friends like that. You got to have people around you like that. Either that or you just become stupid because everybody around you says, yes, 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 and nobody knows how to say anything else. Y'all all think for one another. It doesn't make sense. Developing relationships with people who have opposing views is important for maintaining perspectives in what Bowens calls the big, beautiful, diverse world. That's one of the psychologists that they had asked to, I think they were part of the study. I don't know. Anyway, sign number 9. We're almost done. So they minimize your feelings. What does that mean? Basically, emotional invalidation. Emotional invalidation occurs when people dismiss your thoughts, feelings, or experiences. In my personal experience, dealing with somebody that invalidates your emotions and your experiences all around, no good, no good, no bueno. Because inadvertently or on purpose, whichever the person is doing, whether they're trying to invalidate your emotions or they're not, what it does is it creates a power dynamic. Because the thing is that if my emotions are valid but yours are not, I have power over you. I'm valid, you're invalid. So everything I say and everything I do is valid, and everything you do and everything you say is invalid. And I'm going to make you feel as though your experience is invalid. I've been around multiple people that have told me, you have never been through anything and you haven't seen the things that I've seen. Listen, you have not seen the things that I've seen, and you don't know what I've been through. And the thing is that we all have to walk into every situation with a person and understand that, just that. I haven't seen the things that you've seen. You're right. Your eyes have seen completely different things in the however many years you've been on this planet. But that said, you haven't seen the things I've seen either. So as long as we both come to that understanding that both of our experiences are valid, both of us have seen things and been through things that made us feel not so good and things that made us feel good. And when we validate each other's experience, we can have more effective communication and we can get to know each other better. But when one person's invalidating the other, it's so tiring trying to talk to somebody that just invalidates your emotions and invalidates your experiences. It really is. It's like they're just trying to cut to the chase and get past whatever you're saying and get to how they feel. And they will tell you how they feel. And they want you to validate how they feel. But God forbid you feel some type of way or you feel anything. They don't care. It's not a very good way to live. So the act of minimizing one's emotions is often purposeful, although it can also happen in a haphazard, unintentional way. If you tell someone you're hurt or upset and they respond saying something like "it could be worse" or "it's not as bad as you think," that's a form of emotional invalidation. Now, my dad, he used to do it all the time. I don't think that the purpose was to manipulate me. I don't think it was to you know what I mean, to invalidate me. I think that he was trying to help me build a tough skin. So there's ways where somebody can emotionally invalidate you and they're trying to, it's coming from a good place. It's not, the intention is not malice. But there are people that, like I said, will listen to you tell them a story about something that hurt you, and then they'll tell you that it doesn't matter, or it wasn't that bad, or you haven't seen it, it's not nearly as bad as their experience. And half the time, their experience, as messed up as it is, they're not comparable. No one's experience in life is comparable. If I get pew pewed at versus me getting SA'd by somebody, I'm not in a better position than the other person. Neither one of us are in a better position than the other person. They're extremely traumatic things to happen to you, and they leave life lasting scars. Some physical, some mental. Both completely valid experiences. When we compare and contrast our stuff like that, it hurts me. It hurts my heart and my soul. And I will always stand up and be like, hold on. Don't do that. Don't do that. This last sign is one that I want y'all to keep note of. Write it down, highlight it, just make a mental note of this sign because it's one that can take a healthy relationship and turn it into a toxic one. The final sign is, drum roll please, not taking accountability. Never apologizing when they're wrong. If a person does not take accountability, you can't communicate with them. You can't be honest with them. You can't do anything with them. You can't have a normal conversation. Any disagreement gets blown over, and it keeps happening. When you don't resolve a disagreement, it doesn't stop there. It might be done right now because we're too tired to keep it going, or we just decided to stop talking about it. But the problem is that the next time that it happens, because it's going to happen again because the person didn't take accountability, you're going to argue about it again. And then you're going to argue about it again when it happens again because they didn't take any accountability. And it's a vicious cycle. And the next thing you know, 20 arguments later, you realize we're still on the same argument that we had initially. But because this person never takes accountability for anything, and I always do, we're in this endless loop, this endless disagreement, this eternal fight that will never stop because they will never take accountability. And the more that it happens, the less accountability they're willing to take. So if a person cannot apologize and take responsibility for their part, because honestly, just about every disagreement between two people has two sides and it's 50-50. Okay? There are situations where obviously a person just is wrong and there's not two sides to it. When a person's cheating on you, when a person's trying to beat on you, all these things, there's no two sides to it. There's just somebody being abusive. But in most normal disagreements, there's two sides, and two people are either just not seeing eye to eye about something, or they just have two completely opposing viewpoints. Either way, it can be resolved. But if nobody takes their part, or if one person never takes their part and the other person does, or whatever, it's not going to stop. It's never going to stop. It'll be a never-ending battle. Someone's got to everybody has to take accountability in a disagreement. It takes two to tango. So both people, they take their responsibility for their side, and then they move on. They fix it. They figure out how to move forward with it. But when you don't, you arguing about the damn soap every fucking week. Promise you, it'll be the stupidest stuff. It'll be the stupidest stuff. So when someone refuses to take accountability or even acknowledge when they've done something wrong or caused harm, it's often an indication that they don't know how to show up for other people, even the ones they care about. So, you know what that means? If this is your partner, you're about to have kids, do you think that they're going to apologize to your kids? Do you think that they're going to teach your kids to apologize? So what are you going to be tasked with? And if you enable the karma, your kid won't take accountability. Your kid won't apologize. And now we have a generational curse of men not taking accountability. And I introduce you to Gen Z. Like, this is the problem. This is the issue. It's a whole thing. It's not. Let me not get too excited. So if you're involved with someone who won't apologize, it forecasts a future full of unresolved conflict and resentment. They might not be meant to be in your life because you deserve someone who treats you better than that. And you do. I agree with this article 110%. You deserve somebody that shows up for you 110% of the time. You deserve somebody that apologizes when they're wrong. You deserve somebody that does everything opposite of what's on this list. These 10 signs are not an all inclusive list. There are a lot of other signs that a person's not for you. And we've taken an hour today to talk about this. I could probably take 4 to talk about all the things that indicate that a person is not for you. But we don't have all that time. And I'm not going to bore y'all any longer. I appreciate y'all listening. Y'all tell me what y'all thought. If you haven't left a comment yet, I want you to tell me what stuck out to you the most. What experience have you had with one of the 10 things on this list? Now, I will see y'all in my next video. Thank y'all for coming to Tab Space. Bye.